Modern agriculture in Hawaii originates from unsustainable practices developed where the impacts were less visibly pronounced. Unfortunately, these European practices caused long-lasting ecological damage and supported economic systems that do not account for the limited nature of Hawaii's resources, nor its physical geographic isolation. Because of this, 1 in 3 homes are food insecure, and despite approximately 7,000 small farms existing in Hawaii, the state still imports 85% of its produce and only possesses a 5 to 7 day food supply in the case of an emergency. Referencing indigenous agricultural practices is especially relevant to achieving sustainable and resilient food systems in Hawaii, as each island, with the exception of Oahu, supported a higher population than exists today, which was sustained solely by local resources. Not only that, but culturally these traditional food systems represent important symbols of respecting both Aina and Hawaiian culture to many island residents, often idolized for being highly specialized organic methods of food production. Traditionally, the most prevalent forms of Hawaiian agriculture were wetland kalo fields known as lo'i, dryland agricultural systems, extensive agroforestry, and fish ponds called loko'ia. Lo'i were well-irrigated wetland systems that formed the basis of Hawaiian foods by producing primarily the kalo used for poi. Agroforestry produced ulu, and dryland systems produced uhi, representing the 3 primary starches of Hawaiian. All the while, more than 400 loko'ia existed along Hawaii's shorelines. These fish ponds were highly productive aquaculture systems that produced approximately 2 million pounds of fish annually. Often, all of these systems integrated other supplementary crops to enhance and diversify diet, including over 70 varieties of limu, varieties of shellfish, fruits, nuts, native plants, and canoe crops, alongside numerous other products. Historic lo'i and loko'ia are often considered the idealized version of what agriculture should look like in Hawaii, yet this demonstrates the public disconnect between the practicality of implementation and public interest in their revitalization, because this is no longer a realistic version of the future. Hawaii is no longer isolated. Its economic landscape has dramatically changed, new invasive species threaten native ecology, and modern life preferences no longer align with the conditions necessary to operate these systems. After all, many people are unwilling to become farmhands or restrict their diets to traditional staple foods. Thus, rather than providing food for people locally, the most profitable industry for agriculture in Hawaii is now export-based. Not only that, but farmers cannot compete with the simplicity, cost-effectiveness, and one-size-fits-all of convenience modern mechanized farming, and new laws and regulations make many important components of these traditional practices impractical or entirely impossible. Yet, transitioning into more sustainable forms of these industries may require the combination of old knowledge with modern methods. Understanding the principles that made old systems incredibly successful often provides insights into how to improve modern ones. For example, Hawaii is surrounded by oceans, and traditionally, loko'ia combined with restricted fishing practices were able to provide a steady supply of seafood to ancient Hawaii. In 2012, it was reported that the demand for seafood in Hawaii is 37 pounds per capita, or slightly more than twice the 16 pound per capita for the U.S. population as a whole. Yet approximately half of the seafood consumed in the state was imported. Despite contributing over $76.367 million in agricultural products in 2017, legal infrastructure, a lack of government support, and public opposition caused by misinformation prevent the industry from growing. Despite all of this, aquaculture possesses an incredible potential for growth in the state both economically and environmentally. According to the Strategic Plan Improvement Report devised by Hatch, investments in sustainable aquaculture could yield returns at least 5 times greater than the costs over a 30-year period due to the growing market and demand for locally sourced resources. And regarding the environment, aquaculture production can help prevent current overharvesting concerns, combat the invasion of invasive species, and help reduce the carbon footprint of seafood. Currently, broodstock, microalgae, and bivalves are the greatest exports of the industry, but with appropriate government support and the aid of both the public and educational institutions, the industry could grow to support local demand. Hydroponics represent another alternative method of agriculture that may prove incredibly productive in Hawaii. This is because it can be used in areas with inefficient soil, has low water and nutrient costs, requires less space for high productivity, and can produce numerous products locally. Based on the ERS's cash receipts estimates, currently, Hawaii's most profitable exports and in-state commodities are miscellaneous crops. This is likely due to the production of ornamental and specialty crops, which could potentially benefit from more greenhouse and hydroponic operations. Additionally, due to Hawaii's year-round growing conditions, there are no expenses related to heating, allowing the potential to compete with mainland markets during periods of cold for certain products. Controlled productive systems continue to grow in popularity throughout the United States, and as climate conditions become more unpredictable, these controlled systems may become more favorable with time. Traditionally, wetland lo'i function in much the same way as hydroponics, utilizing nutrient-rich water sources to grow crops, which may suggest that hydroponics could prove an effective alternative to conventional agriculture in these areas. While areas that utilize traditional dryland systems, or may have even been too barren for those, could benefit from the soilless and water-efficient nature of hydroponics. Historically, areas like Kona on the west side of the Big Island were covered in hundreds of acres of agroforestry. In the modern day, this can be seen imitated on a smaller scale through coffee and macadamia nut plantations. Coffee is one of the state's more valuable commodities, while tree nuts in Hawaii are its third most profitable export, and ranked 7th place compared to other states regarding their export value in 2022. As such, Hawaii possesses the potential to become a primary exporter of tree nut products in the U.S. With that in mind, the state of Hawaii should highly encourage the industry's growth in collaboration with agroforestry, as was traditionally done with ulu and other crops in ancient times. Hawaii's tropical year-round production capacity is perhaps its greatest strength at competing with mainland industries. It is already a major exporter of corn seed due to this reason, and industries like beekeeping, cricket farming, mushroom farming, and vermiculture could also function continuously due to these climatic conditions. These forms of agriculture should be explored and new methods innovated to try to gain an upper hand over larger competitors. After all, the products from these processes could serve as components in animal feed, value-added products, and forms of waste management. These, alongside the continued production of ornamental and specialty crops, could supplement Hawaii's current agricultural economy. Of course, many of these alternative forms of farming require a level of specialized labor and high initial investments to operate. Thus, government support and programs that invest resources into training farmers and supporting diversified modes of production are necessary. Nevertheless, such investments would shorten the travel distances of many foods, resulting in fewer greenhouse gas emissions, likely fewer chemical preservatives, improved cultural food accessibility, and potentially lower food costs. Overall, the traditional agricultural systems developed by the Hawaiians are no longer a practical solution to food insecurity and economic growth in the state. Yet we can use them as models for the future of agriculture in Hawaii.